Well,
Hello.
good afternoon, everyone. And it's Angela Cooper Brathwaite speaking, your president. And I would be accompanied for this presentation by Dr. Doris Greenspan, our CEO. Just of some of the rules for this webinar. Your phones will be muted until we complete the webinar. And after that, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions. Each person has the opportunity to ask one question, and until others have asked his or her questions, then we would go back to that person if you have other questions to be asked. So welcome again, and thank you for joining us on this beautiful afternoon. Earlier this morning was a bit rainy, but it's nice and sunny where I am here. And we are talking about the proposed bylaw amendments, regions, and boundaries. The objectives for this webinar are the proposed bylaw amendments, the purpose...
Ifra, you need to... thank you. That's it. Good. Sorry.
Okay. The purpose and rationale for the amendments, changes to the chapters, and then next steps, followed by question and answer period. So the proposed amendments include to realign RNAO's regional boundaries with that of the Ontario provincial electoral districts as defined by Elections Ontario effective June the 1st, 2022. In doing so, RNAO's geography would align with the varying levels of government, provincial, federal, and municipal. Please note that changes to the bylaws must be approved by voting members and shall be determined by a majority of votes. The purpose and rationale include 1, create a stronger ongoing relationship and dialogue between chapter executives and the political representatives with communities and local media. Another purpose is to position members as local leaders. So you have the opportunity to run for elections, whether at the municipal, federal, or provincial level. Presently, the chapter and region boundaries cut across electoral districts and municipal boundaries, which complicates the organization of and undermines the effectiveness of political action and advocacy. Other benefits include 1, simpler and more durable bylaws. Boundaries would update automatically with Ontario's provincial districts. No further bylaw changes would be required. 2, accurate administration. Geolocating boundaries. You could find that easily. Members would be able to find their own chapters, regions on RNAO website using postal code. And this is so important. I had a member I sent an email to, and she was from Ottawa, and she did not know which chapter she was in. This is a new grad, and we had to help her find a way. So this is so important for all of us. And the third benefit, sharp focus on local community needs and leadership, support for municipal political advocacy and activities. And I want to emphasize that's so important because a lot of decisions are made at the municipal level, but if we don't advocate for some of those changes to be made, it does not go to Queen's Park at the federal level. And I'll cite an example here. Few months ago, talked to the mayor of Oshawa, and he wanted one of the S&S, in his city. He wanted to have the supervised injection sites, but he did not get the votes from some of the other leaders in that meeting. Subsequently, Oshawa, that has a high amount of, people on drugs and addictions, they were not able to get one of those supervised injection sites. And all because if we were advocating with some of those politicians at the local level, they would have understood the need and the necessity for having that vote passed and moving forward to the provincial level to get the support. And the other part is to develop RNAO local leaders to run for political office. It's time we get more nurses who knows healthcare, and I am saying our nurses have a broader knowledge base because of the type of programs we do as RNs. We have that broader knowledge base that we bring to policy, political activity, and to different leadership roles. So it really would put us in a good place. And some simple facts. I'll now turn this over to Dr. Greenspan, who would continue the presentation. Doris?
My esteemed president calls me Dr. Greenspan, and it gives me such a both chuckle and pleasure. So I need to say thank you, Angela, for just being so tremendously always respectful. And I appreciate that. So here is your just Doris for now. From a fantastic doctor, which is Dr. Angela. So let me tell you some simple facts. So there will be 0 new regions. Regions will remain the same, right? Or regions without chapters. 4 new chapters: York West, York East. That's for regions 6 and 7. They're currently in region 6 and 7, and Mississauga and Brampton currently in Peel. So these are really the only 2 ones that are affected in any way or shape. We did go for minimize membership disruption. So 70% of the chapters keep 95 to 100% of their members. Next one, please, Ifra. Consultation reps, 14 chapters have 1 plus or 1 minus, so either 1 more or 1 less rep. Nothing really heart-shattering. 16 chapters see absolutely no change. The funding doesn't change because the funding goes per capita, as you know. And in addition, as I have always said, when you run short of funding, even with the per capita, even if you are a large or a small chapter, you always can apply to Regional Development Fund. It's always available, and quite frankly, it's never completely used. So it's there for you guys to use, given more and more activities. Next one, please, Ifra. So here is how it will look for region 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I will let you for a second to look. This is all on the website, so you will be able to see that. And there is a map also there, but we just want to be able to answer questions. So here you go, is the few that have a +1 or plus minus is there, and then the few new ones. So that gives you an impression, a good view of it. Next one, please, Ifra. Same with here. So in region 8, it's interesting. They have +8, +9 in York East, and -5 in Durham. But this is the reallocation, so that everybody then is in their place, in their locality, according to elections ridings. And therefore, going back to what Angela was speaking about, that I think is hugely important for the association, more and more people will become not only active in supporting current or elections in terms of all candidate session, etc., but will become better and better known. And hopefully we will have many, many more people running after election. Like one inspiring piece during COVID for me is to watch Natalia, that, as you know, is an MPP. She went back to work in the hospital, so she is working full-time on the hospital in emergency room, and then in the evenings or on the weekend, she does MPP work. I mean, how impactful is that for the riding? And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets reelected just by the fact of how much she's seen as being engaged both as a frontline nurse, and also as an MPP that is very much in the front lines. So let me take another second for you guys to look at this chart. Next one, please, Ifra. So the transition, and this was by the request, so we consulted, just so everybody knows and we're transparent about that, we consulted with the entire assembly. Everybody in the assembly was consulted. We received overwhelming support for that. And when I say we, it's the board. And there were a few concerns from PIL. So that was a chapter that had a bit of concerns. And I think that they are on the call, so I'm sure that they will raise some of their questions. Because of that, we did postpone by 1 year. We wanted actually this to be implemented in 2021. We postponed it, so the elections would happen in 2020, remain unchanged. And then members will be elected for 2 years, 2020 to 2022. And then this will be implemented in the elections in 2022. Next one, please, Ifra. The voting period now for this time is May 26 at noon to June 11 at noon. Ifra, do clarify for us, this is all on the website so people can read right now with the background there and everything, right?
Yeah, everything's available online.
Very good. And then it will be, then you will only open on May 26th the vote, right?
Yes, exactly.
Very good. So meanwhile, if you have questions, first of all, you can always send the questions when you go to the website because it's all there and we will be happy to respond. And next one, I think that's it, Ifra, questions and answers. Ifra,
Yeah.
You want to click on the website so people can see how it looks?
Yeah, 1 second.
That would be great. Thank you. Thank you so much. And then people, you guys can start to put your name if you want to go first, second, etc. So you can have a chat. We see you, Paula. Just put in the chat box, and we will go by first come, first serve. Just say, want to comment, and that's all. Then we will have the list of all the people that have questions, comments, and all of that. Meanwhile, meanwhile that everybody puts their, I want to comment or I want to ask, Ifra can show us what it looks like. Hi, Janet. Oh, I see Janet. I see Piroshka. I don't see more faces. Erin. Okay, that's good. Okay, let us see. Beautiful.
So if everyone goes, if you visit myrnao.ca/RNAO_election, you'll see all of the voting items for 2020. The first item is in regards to the amendments to the bylaws. And if you say read more, you see the map.
Show us. Ah, good.
So this is the map Doris was speaking about, and you can see the regions, it broken down by regions, chapters. Sorry, my mouse is just in the way. Chapters within those regions, and then ridings. So if you zoom in, you can see in region 12, Porcupine, and then the riding, and the same for across the province.
So I do want to say to the team, send to the team, to the IT team and policy, really amazing work done with the map. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And then Doris also spoke about a backgrounder. So we prepared a backgrounder here and an FAQ that's available for your viewing. 1 second. So the FAQ is in regards to the boundary changes, as well as one member, one vote, who gets to vote, when the vote happens, and all of those frequently asked questions. And there's also a backgrounder that kind of breaks down the reasoning and more information about the proposed change.
Excellent. So just to give you a bit of background, this is what happens when we have fresh minds at RNAO. A bit of background of how this came about. So a few years ago, actually, the board asked me, why don't we change the boundaries a la Lin? And I said, well, I wouldn't recommend to change a la Lin because a la Lin may change tomorrow and then we will be a la, I don't know what, something else. And this ongoing changing is confusing. But when Matt Calway, the director of policy, came to RNAO soon after he was new, I think Ifra maybe 6 months, 5 months, and he said, why is RNAO not aligned with election ridings when you are telling me we need to take your MPP and all these things with MPPs and not everybody falls within their MPP, etc. And I said, because we never thought about that, Matt. But that makes a lot of sense from that point of view. From my point of view, I said, I always want more nurses to run for elections. So to me, that is what makes sense, that they will be better known. And we brought it to the board. The board had significant discussion, I think 2 board meetings in consecutive board meetings, and it was fantastic, fantastic discussion. We went back and forth in looking at how to really minimize any big changes for members. And then the board took it to the assembly. We had again very rich discussion at the assembly, and then it came back because at the end of the day, that's why you have a board. So the board made the decision. And to respect the concern that Phil have brought forward, we basically moved the timeline for 1 year to be effective in 2022. So that's kind of the background story of how the process unfolded, which I think is good for you to know. Ifra, can you tell us who is online for questions or comments?
I'll go through the questions that came through the chat in order. So the first one is, so it reads, Peel municipality includes Brampton and Mississauga. However, the proposal, they have been split. Thus, the rationale providing does not justify the split. Also, why is Durham split as well? Example, Ajax and Pickering.
Yeah, some of them. So if you have, I mean, you can talk about that probably, Ifra, better than me or Daniel, but I know that a few of them doesn't sit exactly, but the great majority sits much more than before, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And then the next question is regarding the +1 or -1. So I can speak to that. That's just in regards to the number of consultation reps based on the new region boundaries. So those numbers we showed earlier are based on the 2019 numbers. Again, because this is based on membership numbers, it may change next year depending on numbers of members, and those consultation rep numbers are based on the formula we use. So 200 members or more, you get 1 consultation rep. The next question is, given the current unprecedented situation with the pandemic, members are not able to engage in a fulsome discussion to understand the impact, both positive and the challenges. We strongly ask that if voting for 1 member, 1 vote to be delayed until 2021.
Who is asking that? I'm not seeing it.
So that's from Poonam S.
I think it will be important that you say who is asking when people ask. Yeah, Angela, you want to comment on that?
The 1 member, 1 vote?
Yes.
What's the question again? Could you repeat it?
Can you repeat?
Yeah, so they're asking, they're strongly asking if voting for 1 member, 1 vote can be delayed until 2021. And that's from Poonam S.
But the amendments don't go into effect until 2022. This is going to give us enough time for people to think, and if they're affected by changes, they could make that changes and make it with good decision making. If there are changes affected, whether it's Peel or Durham, whichever chapters or region 6 or 7 that are either adding or losing, to give them enough time to think through how they go about implementing this. So I don't see delaying this is going to be make any difference. Right
And
now, you have the information before you, and knowing that it does not, the amendments don't take effect until 2022, you have enough time to know how you're going to go about implementing those changes.
yeah, and Poonam, just to add to Angela's piece, you can still do teleconferences, you can still do Zoom meetings. Everybody's doing them for all kinds of things. So, yeah, I mean, the board consider, as you know, Peel wanted Poonam to actually not do this very much. So the board did consider the pieces, and delaying a whole leadership development. That's a serious request. It's posted, so we cannot unpost now. So it's out of Angela's decision now, actually. You know what I mean? It's out of any of our decisions. But there is a vote. If people vote against, that will be democracy.
So I think some people are having some trouble unmuting themselves, so I'm just gonna unmute the lines. If you
But you have more questions online first, Ifra?
yeah, it's more
first continue, no, Ifra, continue first all the questions you have in the bubble to be fair to everybody, and then you unmute the lines, please.
Okay, so they're just kind of more of comments, but I can read through those.
That's good.
So a lot of nurses are busy with COVID-19 response. I believe it should be postponed.
Can you say who is giving you the comments again, Ifra?
Yeah, so this is from Danielle. A lot of nurses are very busy with COVID-19 response. I believe it should be postponed until after the response. They have limited time to read emails and be aware of this vote.
Next.
And then from Maria Tandock is, I agree that many members are not fully aware and understand the implications of this proposed bylaw, thus recommending deferring this vote till next year. Janet wanted to see Southern Ontario on the map. I'll pull that up in a minute, Janet. So this one is just from a number. I'm unable to identify this person. It says, one concern I want to raise is that Peel has been a very successful chapter, in part because they're able to draw executive members across Brampton, Mississauga, and Caledon. It takes many volunteers to create success, so dividing up the chapter may create a situation where you don't have enough people willing to be volunteers in chapter executives.
You never know, you know, that has been something that many have commented in relationship to the 2-year versus what used to be repeated. You know, now we can only do 2 years plus 2. It used to be, I remember when I came to RNAO many years ago, it could be 7 years, 8 years, and people were saying we cannot find people. As it turns out, there are very vibrant elections. I think to that comment, you may be right on the first year. It's like when we did the Take Your MPP to Work, was 7 of them, and now we have more than what we can take. So these things take time on building, and as Angela just said, there is 2 years preparation. So that's a long time for preparation too.
Okay, another comment from Danielle is, I think nurses will need.
Angela asked, sorry, if Angela asked one per person and then repeat. So just so we get the whole people, right?
Yeah. So next is from Iona. She says, I think that members need more time to learn about the impact of the bylaw. With the current COVID outbreak, many members are not focused on bylaw changes, and many are experiencing increased levels of stress at work. I think the idea of the bylaw is based on a good objective. However, given the current situation, could we postpone the vote until the 2021 year?
So that, I think that Angela already gave the answer for that.
Yes.
Other comments? Bottom line, what you need to know, I think Paula wants a comment. I think she put in the bubble. If I'm not following the bubble, you are, so you need to tell us.
Yeah.
But another comment is for those of you that say postpone, the reality is very simple. If people don't vote, it will be postponed. It will die by itself. So it's pretty simple. So, you know, it will The democratic process will lead to whatever that members want it to lead anyways. So if, you might be right, and then we will not have enough votes, right? And that will postpone it automatically. Yes, Ifra, sorry. I know that Paula is saying with her hand she wants to talk, so she must have put in the bubble also.
I don't see a comment from Paula, but I'm gonna unmute the lines now so that if people want to ask a question, they can go ahead.
Very good. Paula, Paula, you need to unmute. Paula is muted, Ifra.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute them. 1 second.
Unmute one at a time, please, Ifra. Otherwise, we will not have a good discussion. Ifra? I don't think Ifra is hearing me even.
Yeah.
Ifra, unmute one at a time, Ifra. Otherwise, there is a lot.
Okay, I'm gonna unmute Paula. I think you were first. Okay, Paula, go ahead.
Okay, I was following instructions because you said put our name in the box if we wanted to speak. So my speaking is what I would like to do. So I do appreciate that if the vote dies because there's not members, but I thought this was a process where we could actually have a dialogue because we're the people on the grassroots who know what's going on. And
so Paula, just with respect, this is out of order. The meeting today is about the bylaw change. It's not about, we don't have a board meeting today that we can even tackle this. And the board cannot take out something because of 29 people. So this is about answering about the bylaw change. The rest will happen in the democratic process. Just to be clear what the meeting is about. It never was about, are we taking this out? Because it's posted. That decision was made long ago.
But I would say that in terms of hearing the grassroots, and this is our opportunity to say that there are concerns about the bylaw, okay?
Yes.
So I think with the one comment that was about how far you have to draw members in to be on the executive, I think I see this is where we have to talk about the effectiveness of the chapter structure. So political action is one part. I know it's RNAO's primary focus, but at the chapter level, that's one focus. Our members would like us to be there to support them and educate them and do all that great stuff, speaking out for nursing, speaking out for health, about work-life issues like violence in the workplace, about the fact that they have to face, like what we have now with COVID-19. I mean, it's unprecedented, but it is the reality nurses are doing right now. So I don't know where we're going to take this concerns we might have then if this is out of order, because I really think it's in order because it is democratic and it's the process we have because we can't all get together at an assembly. And if I want to go even bigger, I think that the whole thought of having a meeting in June is defunct because even if we come out of
Paula, but we do have an online AGM and we're not the only one and people are thrilled. So I agree, I respect that you disagree, but we are having if it's not allowed to be in person, we will have actually a virtual beautiful AGM. We're not going to go 2020 without an AGM. Absolutely not. We in fact have Nursing Week virtual. We will have a beautiful Nursing Week and you have no idea how many organizations have asked us that we allow them to participate in the Nursing Week. We need to be very careful that COVID doesn't take over our lives. COVID is COVID. And yes, I am also working 20 hours a day, but there is a bigger picture than COVID. RNAO is more than COVID. And so are members.
And I have nothing further to say.
Okay, Doris, I can go to the next question on the chat. So someone's asking what support will home office provide for change management and leadership development for the new chapters if this is voted on?
Excellent. So that was discussed, and I think there is a bit on the Q&A on the website. Same as we do always provide when chapters, right now we have many chapters that it's difficult for them to find people. No one is saying that it will not be easier. So some will be more difficult, some will be easier. We have had chapters in all regions. I can think about the region in Kingston that go hips and flows. There are 4 years that are fantastic, and then there are 3 years that are not. The organization changes according to also its leadership. So for those chapters and regions that are already strong, I will build on what Angela said. There are 2 years to build on the strong leadership to develop new leaders or some of the same leaders. And home office will be right there supporting with tools, with capacity building, as we do absolutely all the time, including in COVID. We are doing that with webinars and other things attended by hundreds of people. I mean, I need to tell you that yesterday we had the COVID webinar and we had close to 300 people. It was very well attended. So when people want, they attended big time. Some issues are more interesting for them than others, obviously. And I think people will be well supported by Daniel and his team. And I know Daniel is online, I think, unless he's sending nurses via nurse to different nursing homes that we were asked. And also Matt and his team will be supporting. And we even have a Take Your MPP to Work virtual this year. And you will be hearing more next week about that.
It's Angela here. I'd just like to add that in any group, whether it's a chapter or a region, the membership at the executive level does not completely change. There's always an overlap of someone who has been in a leadership role with the oncoming members on the executive, and those members who are there should mentor those who have more experience to mentor the junior nurses. And I will say to all of you, I am in Durham, Northumberland chapter, and our executive have mentored nursing students from year 2 straight up to 4th year. Right now, our current president is a fairly new grad, 2 years, because she was mentored by us, and other members on the executive were mentored by us and have now taken over the leadership role. So one of our responsibilities as president in our chapters or regions, we need to mentor other people, whether they're students or other colleagues in the chapter or region, so that they're able to take on leadership roles. And also, by your mentoring, you are developing other people as leaders. That's part of our duty. And that's what RNAO board is made up of. It's never completely all new members. You always have an overlap, and the former members help to mentor those who are just coming on. So the leadership continues. We continue to build good leadership, to build strength, and where there is lacking, we give that education and that support for those people.
And talking about the board, I would, same as talking about staff nurses for that matter, or nurse managers, I would suggest to you that being, relatively newer doesn't mean that you are less expert. In fact, it's a different type of expertise. And we have very novice people in the board, relatively novice, and they're fantastic. So, it's the mix of people can be very good too. So, I mean, those that will struggle and that will need help, we will help as we are helping now. Ifra, I think you have more people. I just saw people coming.
So Aaron Clark is asking, can you clarify how this will increase our ability to advocate?
It will be more related also to local issues. So in addition to advocating at the provincial and national level, we will be able to do more also local municipal advocacy, which people have been asking for quite some time. So that will facilitate that piece and embed it more on local issues. So still the general issues that RNAO takes, but with local pieces. Ifra, you have new people?
Yeah. So next question is unidentified, but they're asking if one member, one vote is being voted on by all members or those.
All members. All
Okay.
members. This is a very good question. Any bylaw change, always, any bylaw change is by is one member, one vote. Any new bylaw change and the auditor report is the auditor, not the auditor report, the assigning the auditor is one member, one vote. Yes.
And then Maria had a question. You're unmuted if you want to go ahead with your question.
Okay, thanks, Ifra. On the slide that we saw, titled Consultation Reps for this new proposed bylaw, it gives a number that says Peel has 4, and then Mississauga would have 4, and Brampton would have 4. Can you clarify where the Peel would be? Like,
Maybe you can put the slide, Ifra.
Yeah, so that would be Dufferin Caledon, but I can pull that up.
yeah, right there. I see it. So Halton has minus, I understand that, but it says Peel 4, like that would be the Dufferin area?
Yeah, so Peel the name is not changed, but the area would be Dufferin Caledon.
Oh, so that's where Caledon would be.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
I think Danielle, I see she wants to speak. I don't know, can you read us who you have on the box so that we can allow people that are on the box?
Yeah, Danielle had a comment next. I can also just unmute you if you'd like.
And who else? And you have more or you don't? I just want to know if the same people can talk again. Or if you have...
Janet Hunt just had a comment. I'll just read that out before I unmute Danielle. So the vote is direct. She just wants to clarify the vote is to direct home office staff to make the best job they can to make these changes in a seamless manner. If membership says no, then nothing happens. If they say yes, then we can work with those affected the most. Is that correct?
100%. The vote is about changing the bylaw. If the bylaw changes, then we absolutely then need to start to work with every single group, both those all of them. I would work even with the ones not affected. I will work with all of them so everybody has clear, and then those that are affected even more so, especially if they feel that there will be a leadership void, right? Which I hope actually that none of them will have, including not PL, because they're a very strong chapter. So I'm confident that they will not have, but we will help everybody, absolutely yes.
Okay, so Danielle, you are next. I've unmuted your line if you want to go ahead and ask your question or make a comment.
Okay, so I just wanted to make a comment. The justification I understand, I just don't feel that it's unanimous across the province. Like Durham's going to remain as a municipality with even other cities attached, whereas Peel is going to be divided. I just don't feel that's democratic even before the vote occurs, and I want to express that. Also, Peel is the region of Peel. I work for the regional municipality of Peel. We're going to be pre-COVID. We're going to be undergoing some changes. I understand RNAO is a provinciation, so I understand. I'm assuming they're going by the provincial.
I can't hear. You're cutting off, Danielle, darling. She's cutting off.
Sorry. The weather is very bad.
If you turn off your camera sometimes and leave your just your audio on, it helps with the breaking out.
Thank you. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry, the weather's poor where I am today. So I just want to express, like, I was mentored by the Peel chapter. We do have a very strong chapter, but I do want to, and I know we're a provincial association, so I'm understanding that I guess that's where we're going with those ridings of Dufferin Caledon. However, I work for the regional municipality of Peel, and we do have like a municipal municipal government, and we do, which is Peel and Mississauga. And I worked alongside Natalia, so I did see her growth and development. She was part of our mentorship initiative for the mentor. So I feel that to do a split like this, I don't necessarily think it's a good idea at this time. That's just what I wanted to share. And I feel like, why wasn't it done then? If we're going to be fixing it, why weren't the other cities such as Durham also divided in the same way to match the ridings? Because those are more than 5 cities that will remain. So are their ridings not distinct?
Ifra, can you comment on that? When you guys did the divisions? I'm terrible at geography, so I wouldn't be able to comment to you any of that.
Yeah.
But I know that they tried to do the less disruption, and that the board also was reviewing that. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull up this slide.
The map.
Yeah, so Durham, so there's in Region 8, if you can see on the screen, York East is a new, will be one of the other new chapters. So that was also pulled from Durham. Would it be helpful if I pulled up the map for everybody?
No, I understand the geography, and I did review the map. I'm just saying they're a municipality. Durham is a municipality. York is in the city of Toronto, so I can understand dividing them. But I'm just saying for Peel, we are a municipality as well. And part of your justification was that you wanted us to be able to lobby municipal government and develop relationships. I just don't feel the justification is completely all, the rationale is
I hear you, Daniel. If I see Piroshka wanted to speak, and Piroshka wanting the map on. I have seen 3 times her name. Can you please unmute her and put the map? I'm not sure
Dora, so the order, I have Piroshka, but next was Cheryl. While Cheryl goes, I'll pull the map up. Or I'll send Piroshka the map.
Thank you. Put the map on the screen. It's not just for Piroshka. Everybody wants to see it.
Yeah, I'm going to do both, but they can move through it if they have the link on their own.
Got it.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
Thank you. I guess I'm just concerned about the process here tonight, that when members are trying to speak, they're being interrupted. Other members are being relegated to a chat box when there's very real concerns. And so that's number one. And number two is, I'd like to understand, if there's an AGM happening, why are these votes not occurring at the AGM? And so, Angela, for just a second, just one more thing, I apologize. Angela, the request was not to defer to 2021 the enactment of an approved amendment. The request is to defer the voting to facilitate further consultation with the affected chapters. For example, Dufferin is not Peel. It's a completely different municipality. So the geography is incorrect. So I would really like to have all the mics on so people can have some healthy discussion and really hear the member voices that people are trying to come forward.
So just to put, Cheryl, just to put things in perspective, RNAO has 44,000 members. We have 28 people. Let's please put it in perspective, number one, with all due respect. Number two, the matter was discussed with the entire assembly twice. And the matter was discussed with the individual chapters affected in addition to that. Number three, the one member, one vote always happens online for the last, correct me, Ifra, but 5 years or so. And it happens before the AGM always. So you may have forgotten it, but it happens always. This is not the first time.
And bylaws
lastly, sorry?
Bylaws always happen ahead of the AGM?
Always. Bylaws is one member, one vote. It's about the only thing that is one member, one vote. So what happens is that the AGM, just to remind you, is actually the consultation reps that happens. It used to happen in the morning, and now happens in the afternoon, because actually it's not part of the legal, so to speak, processes of an AGM based on the actual act. So this is not new, it's the way it is. And I think what Angela was referring, I don't want to speak for her. I don't
Okay.
think, I think Angela was referring that it will be implemented, and that's what she said. And no, Angela, nor the board at this point have the authority to take something off the posting because of the simple fact that it was consulted with the assembly, 120 people or 140. It was posted based on a board decision, and the board has the authority to do that, and members have the right to vote, and it's more than the 28 people. You know what I mean? So it's more complicated than we having the discussion. That's why I think, yes, we can hear everybody, but we have no authority. And I'm part of the board, non-voting, but we have zero authority. That's what the lawyer will say, okay? On a group of, imagine the members will say, on a group of 28, you decided to take it out, why? So so we can have the conversation, but I would encourage us not to spend the whole time about taking it off because we can't, but actually also hearing how is it that we will alleviate if this passes. If this doesn't pass, didn't pass, end of story, right? So that's simple.
So a vote happened at the assembly to say we are in favor of these amendments to go forward.
At the assembly, there is no vote. There is very rich discussion, and most people, I would say 80 to 90% actually supported this. Otherwise, trust me, the board would not have moved forward. We did have concerns from PL. I believe, Ifra, correct me, I think was the only chapter that really had concerns, and that's why the board decided to give it 2 years to adjust, not just one, which usually is one, right? Because you vote on a change and it comes into effect the following year. So that's why the board decided 2 years. Now, there are board members there and they can comment on that. I think
I'll defer to the next microphone. Thank you, Doris.
Yeah.
Okay, so next we'll have Poonam and then Parashka, Iona, and then Paula.
I think with all due respect, Poonam already spoke, so you can absolutely have Poonam, but first, if anyone has not, that's what Angela asked Ifra. I want to be respectful to our president, and she said that at the beginning. So do you have anybody that has not spoken, basically?
Yeah, Parashka was next. She was waiting to speak.
I don't know if she's there.
You're on mute. Let me just, I'll do it on my end. Can you, Parashka, can you unmute yourself, please? It won't let me.
There it is.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. You have to unmute. You had to unmute, and then I had to unmute. Like a double process. So here's the thing. I'll be very honest, because when we first had this at our board meeting, I took a deep breath and I thought, oh my God, I'm losing half my region. Like, it was almost like a panic mode, because Region 6 actually is, if you look at the old map and the new map, it's cut in half. But I didn't panic because I wanted to take this and talk to also my executive, like meaning what everybody thinks and within our region. And they really surprised me. They actually said, you know what, this makes life a lot easier from a political action perspective. Because we were having, if you look at where the boundary is now, everything north of that is it's York region. And I work in the region that I'm the representative in, right? So I live there too. So I live in the region and I work in the region right now. And I work in the north end of the region, which politically and in every way, it's very different. Their needs are different. What I would be advocating for versus the actual Toronto West region. Does that make sense? So when I look at it from that perspective, this makes sense, because yes, I'm losing, but I'm also gaining a little bit more how could I say this, sameness, so that we're similar in what we're discussing. And actually it was our political action team that said this. They said, you know what, Portia, actually this makes life easier for us. So how that's going to pan out with members and with everything else, I don't know, because we have 2 years to figure it out. but I'm just being, you know, upfront with, yes, I understand the concerns. And I think that's why if we have time to sort it out, there's time. But if we are to meet the needs of our community, like my community where I live, and I'm very politically active in my community, if I have to go all the way up to like King City, which I don't live there, I work there, but I live in South Etobicoke. And so for me, it's more relevant to be in knowing this area and what the concerns are. And so if I'm going to go to my politically where I can speak better is in this area. And that was sort of the feedback in our region. So I'm just sharing that perspective. And I mean, as far as activity and getting executives, that is a concern that's been there, concern from day one. However, we have some people in the northern part who are living in York that want to actually, I could see them becoming more active now because there'll be a chapter there. So then they can now go into that chapter, because if you're in all of Region 6, and I can only speak to Region 6, some of them may not want to come all the way down to downtown Toronto or Toronto West where we have events, because they live way the heck up there. And I think that was the case with Region 7 as well, that people were living really far up north, and they were having issues trying to figure out where we're going to have events or our AGM because of the size itself. So if you break it down into smaller components or into different chapters, it makes more sense, and you can have engagement in that area because politically and geographically you're in the same area. So that would be my just sort of contribution, that it makes sense from a political perspective. If we're going to advocate and speak out for something, it's harder for me to speak out for York Region than it is for me to where I live. And that's where I am right now. And so this is how Region 6 kind of figured it out, what would be the best way to go. Does that make sense for everybody? I'm just kind of.
Is Angela here? I would just like to add to that, just briefly. Being in Durham, Northumberland, we had Markham as part of Durham, Northumberland, but the nurses from there never came down. We used to meet a few years before I went on the board to go up north. It's harder, but having a chapter in Markham makes so much sense, because we weren't getting, even though they were members of Durham, Northumberland, they did not come south. They wanted everybody to come north, and as a result, they won't engage as much as they should be engaged. But having them become a chapter now, they have the full engagement that they need and to do the work that they need to do and do the political activity, as well as develop other leaders in that area.
And I know from my perspective, I've been more engaged with all of the MPPs in what is now, what the proposed region is. And we've created relationships with those MPPs. And that's what this is about, really, is creating those relationships so I can advocate, I can speak to issues, and they're very readily available and they know us.
If I may, creating those relationships and replacing them at the first chance. Thank you. By you. That's what I mean, by you guys. I want you to guys run. I think, Ifra, I think you have Poonam, Daniela, if I follow the order. Poonam, Daniela, Iona, and then Paula. Is that correct?
Yeah, Iona was first, so we'll,
okay.
Iona, I've unmuted you,
okay,
and then we'll go Poonam, Daniela, and then Paula.
But you also had Poonam. I saw Poonam's name.
Yeah, I included her in my list.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Go ahead, Iona.
Hi, sorry. I can't speak long because I'm at work, but I just had a question about bylaw 3.4 in the document that was sent out that says that the board shall determine the chapters that are included in each region and may from time to time in its discretion revise the allocation of chapters among the regions. I was just wondering if this is a new addition and whether
this is because if there are changes in the elections, then the mobilization can happen again.
Oh, I see.
But now that I heard all your discussion, Danielle was mentioning, I think, about this one belongs better here or there, right? If something becomes pretty obvious within these 2 years, that one of the ones will not fit something, then the board is allowed to work with you on doing that. So that facilitates that piece too. I mean, the ideal is, Iona, that no one will start to meddle every single year with this thing because it will be chaos, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if from time to time there is a need, say the issue that we will not find leaders in whatever that people mention, right? If it's consistent forever, then maybe some change can happen. So it facilitates that piece.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Leona. Poonam, you're unmuted. You can go ahead.
Thank you. So first of all, I just wanted to thank you for having the opportunity to voice our comments and concerns. I really hope that we have more opportunities like this before the AGM, if possible. Secondly,
before the vote, you mean, Poonam?
Before the one member, one vote.
Yeah, yeah.
So with Peel Chapter, I mean, you know, Doris, that we have been engaged not only with our members, our student members, we do a lot. We have a membership program to support new grads and work with them. And so we're politically engaged as well. So we've been doing a lot of work for many, many years, and many people do not feel comfortable with this change that has been proposed, but you know, we are willing to work with RNAO if that's what it takes. But we really do need to have a lot of support from you guys if this moves forward with mentorship, a work plan, and we really want to be part of the process if this does move forward. And
so
I think
can I answer on that, Poonam?
I'm sorry?
Can I answer?
Yes.
Number one, you have my word for it, and that goes for anyone. As I told you, I understand on maps and geography exactly the opposite that I understand on politics and policy, okay? But you have my word that our team will work with you. You also have my word that I bet you $1 million that you guys will need no help because you have the leadership already, and I know it will work, but we are going to, it's not RNAO will work and you will be invited, it's the other way. You guys will work and we will support you where you feel you need, not the other way around, because we are not taking cover because you guys have too much going on there. And I know you have it going on and going on well. But you have my word on it. And I may understand maps in the process, which will be good.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Poonam. Paula, you were next, and then we'll go to Danielle after that.
Yes, it's to my Peel colleagues, but I'm including everybody because, you know, all great minds, we can think alike or similar. I think what Peel may want to consider is something, because it's very urban dense, Peel, South Mississauga, right up to North Brampton. And I think Brampton's going to be hitting Orangeville in about 5 years. But the thing about these chapters, they don't have to work in isolation. It's a lot like the Toronto chapter. When it was my privilege to be the rep, we went geographical. You go northeast, somewhere on the subway line, you combine with the other region that's a next door neighbor, and Peel can do that. Like it could have even a super chapter that could be Peel, just thinking out the box here. And the other chapters can be feeders to what that area is about, because the neighborhoods don't change just because you've got a street that says that's our boundary and we don't have the same problems. You have very similar problems. It's Mississauga. It has its areas that are well-to-do and the areas that are a bit dodgy. So that's what we can bring as our strength from our neighborhood. But I would say that nurses, as you know, Doris, are very portable. They live in Oakville and they work downtown Toronto. So that option to be where they work or live has to be an option.
So the preference, Polita, will be where you live. And I will tell you why. And that's regardless of the bylaw change now.
Okay, but
I will tell you why. Because
I had nothing
we
in
want,
common with my
because you can,
okay. Yeah.
because you cannot run in a place where you work. You need to run in a place where you live. And from my perspective as a CEO, if one thing I wish I would have succeeded as much as all the rest that I have succeeded is to have many more nurses as MPPs. and many more nurses than in cabinet. We have more than what we had years ago. But the talent that we have is huge, and we could have way, way more.
My network was with the people I worked with.
But you cannot run there. So we need to push you guys to do political action where you live. Your network may be where you work, but we need to push you to do your MPP where you live, et cetera, et cetera. So then you can come and replace that MPP, et cetera.
But it is a volunteer member association, so people can choose where they would like to be.
Well, we will, I don't know how it will work, but we did discuss that at the assembly.
Right.
There are areas, for example, like Quebec, that actually people come and go and work there and live here. So some areas like indigenous communities, etc., that we absolutely, that choice will always continue because people go for a while sometimes, or etc. But overall, we will strongly encourage people to belong where they live. I had the same thing with you when I was in the not the CEO. You may remember I live in one place and I lived in the other. In fact, I couldn't. When I became CEO and Region 6 and 7 were saying, she's mine, I didn't even know what they are talking because I don't understand maps, right? I belong to RNAO kind of.
We wanted to keep you.
I know, but you know what I mean? The issue is, yes, our network is where we work, but we do need to push the local activity of political action where we live. Otherwise,
but it's not just politics for the association.
I'm talking about
healthcare. I don't disagree with you. The political part of it is big, but huge. It's also that connections we make for each other to make the profession stronger.
Yeah, it doesn't prevent you from attending 2 chapter meetings.
Well, I've done that for years, so fortunately I've been that route. But I think that Peel will survive. It's just that they have to. It's a rethinking of things, and it's similar to 6 and 7. I wonder if this is not the place, but I think there might be policies or something that need to accompany this change, and that may be a case that's not for here. That's just floating it out. And I don't want to get into operations because I'm not going there. But I just thinking out loud, and this is help alleviate everybody. But I think there's also an opportunity for the learning here. The first I heard about this was when it came through as my vote. And so there is that sort of communication with the assembly members and what was their effectiveness in letting the grassroots members know, the regular members know there's a change coming. And for many, that's not going to be having an impact. But for those that it did have an impact, that's the part we can reflect on and see how we can learn. Thank you.
Don't forget that the vote, when is the vote?
May 26th it starts.
When?
May 26th.
Thank you. So I made my point. It's a month from now. So actually you're having very good communication compared to any other association.
Yeah, but I'm a hardcore member.
I understand, but I understand, I think the board has done a spectacular job in making the decision. I think now the president is here speaking with members, 24 of them at this point. I think there is a piece in the journal and a piece also in the already for a month will be in the place that people can go and read. Now I need to tell you, I can bet you $1 million, and I wish it was different than what I am going to say, that if 200 people read it, we're lucky. Because people don't read those things. People go and vote because they go and vote whatever they see at the time that fits their views on this. You see what I mean? So I know the group that is here, that is 24, is very a committed membership that actually, and some that are very affected, and I am glad that you guys are. But talk it out with people now. It's in the open. It's in the open for everybody. But think please about all the aspects. RNAO, yes, it's about the networks and the collegialship, etc., like everything is in life. It is also about making an impact, and impact is at the policy level also. And if we don't start to become more and more, and we have made progress, so I don't want to beat ourselves to death with it, We have made huge progress. We have at least 3 or 4 MPPs that are nurses, all came out of RNAO. But my gosh, I would be so pleased if we had 20. And why not? And why not? So why not, right?
And then the last question is from Cheryl. Cheryl, if you're still there, you can unmute yourself. It's just the bottom left.
Okay,
There we go.
if it worked, it took about 5 touches. I don't know. There's concerns, and you know, even the fact that Caledon is, you're suggesting Caledon is part of Dufferin, the geography is wrong. Caledon is part of the municipality of Peel, and I think that there's a process concern that's happening. And it could all be a terrific idea, but it also appears to me that you know, I echo what my colleague Paula is saying, is that membership at chapters, we don't join chapters because we want to run for office. It's the rare person who runs for office. And yes, it's a great thing for nurses to be politically active. By the way, politically active doesn't only mean at a government. There's multiple ways to be politically active. But it feels like this amendment is the tail wagging the dog. Okay, we want more nurses to be like that marvelous Mississauga MPP, whose name escapes me, who I think is just amazing. We want more to be like that. So let's align all with the voting regions. And in so doing, I'm not sure that we have heard enough of the impact that people are wanting to talk about. We're afraid to actually come and talk about. And that's what I'm wanting to share and take the risk tonight and share, is that it's really about process, and the request from the Peel chapter to defer a vote like this until there's been more conversation is an important one.
So
it's
Cheryl,
an important one.
Yeah.
And
so
sorry to be on the other side of this. Months of work that must have gone into this, and ardent, wise thinking, and the greatest desire for the profession to be politically active. I know that's where all this comes from, and I respect it greatly.
It's Angela here. Could I add something to that? In my opening remarks, I made a comment about the mayor of Oshawa, who was a former addict, and I didn't say that piece, who wanted a supervised injection site. And all the municipal leaders, those who are on the board there, the majority did not vote for it.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of us. We were not meeting with those leaders to inform them of the importance of having a supervised injection site in the Ottawa. That is a municipal aspect. And I've had several, as the president moving around, I have several members this past year who came and said to me, we need to start advocating on behalf of those municipal leaders, because the decisions that are made at the municipality goes provincially, and it only goes forward if it's supported by the majority of the people on those boards. Several of those have said that to me. So just saying that we just want somebody to run up at the political level and become an MPP or MP is not the only reason why this bylaw amendment is occurring. We need, just imagine, in public health, it's at the municipal level. All of those, when the Premier wanted to stop the funding, it is at the municipal level. We had to meet with those board leaders in order to get them to understand and to also support them to put the case forward, so that the Premier did not cut the public health funding. And thank God he did not, because
Angela,
we would have a different world altogether.
Angela, Peel is a municipality. It's what we're trying to share.
It's
is that
Brampton, Mississauga.
To hive it apart, to hive Brampton, Caledon, Mississauga apart and chop it up, and then take a piece of it and lump it with another municipality, which is Dufferin County and that municipality up there. if you want it to be municipality, the municipality of Peel, which is Brampton, Caledon, and Mississauga, they're not, and they are not splitting. So it's we know our geography. So anyway, I didn't. Paula, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think that's what we're all saying, and I think that's what I just said in my comments, was that Peel by itself, it can have the chapters, but it actually could become even stronger because you'd have the smaller chapters geographically than it is now, but they could work together as a super chapter, so to speak. I think the devil's in the details, which
yeah, I hear you.
is something that home office can help us with. I think that's also just another way for our heads to get around. Listening to the dialogue tonight helped me crystallize that in my head. So at this rate, I'll probably be running for president of Peel or something, but whatever the case may be, the fact is we need to have some innovation. We need to have, because we know that our area has very similar challenges, like the injection of drugs, the crime, the determinants of health. These are all things that we have in common, but they're not just in Peel. They're in Toronto West, they're in Toronto East. So that connectiveness is what can come together, and that power that could be there. But the stories are what the politicians want to hear. Now, on a
but I
note,
also, I'm with you though, that we don't join a chapter because we want to be hanging out and knocking on the doors of politicians. Some of us do, and that's great.
And some will.
The other thing, and some of us do, but Caledon is getting pushed up to Shelburne and Orangeville, and they are not within the same municipality nor the same ridings, if you will, if that's what you're basing stuff on.
Yeah, I think Home Office would be able to sort of address that. I don't think that's going to contingent on the vote now. Because
well, I'm just trying to take my time to make that clear tonight. And also, I think that as a member that pays however many hundreds of dollars, we cannot run the risk of denying people the option to choose the chapter they want to join. And I'm really caution and invite a little second reflection on that conversation that's happened. Huh?
Probably Cheryl will be asking what other associations do. I want to hear also what OMA does, what all of those associations in terms of belonging. If it's choice, it's choice. If not, no. But I do think when people go to visit in the Take Your MPP to work, and they are not even from the chapter, the politicians roll their eyes. They actually want the people that live in their riding, but very clearly. I can tell you that because I have been on several.
I would say that, and I have visited many chapters, even go out as the president out to other people's chapters meeting as a guest. But in my chapter, when I go and see the MPPs in my chapter, they're glad to know that somebody from their constituency is talking to them and highlighting the problems that exist in the area that they're responsible for. They love it. You share the stories with them, and they love to hear it.
And they, in fact, ask for that. Like politicians, RNAO is way more sophisticated than what was years ago. So they do ask for people from their constituency. Whether they are active with RNAO, whether they are in the assembly or not, for that matter, they want people that live in their area.
There's something to be said about numbers, though, Doris, because I've been to Region of Peel events where we have, say, 100 people in the room. And the politicians, that's like a big crowd to come out to. I don't know if it would be diluted if you had 10 people in the room. It could have a different focus, but it doesn't have that same pizzazz. When you walk in with 100 people, that's a lot of people to be able to influence. And so I think there's some power to that sort of effect of that, bringing people from all over that region, that area, because of that urban dense. I think when we first did the boundaries, we still had green space in Mississauga, and now we've changed a lot. So I think if tonight says anything, just one more, and I'll certainly hand over, is that maybe the subtext of some of the municipalities, because Dufferin is not just Orangeville, that's Shelburne, it's all the little towns in that area,
Melanchthon,
Markdale, all of those places. And so I think maybe more of the place names around it to help people, guide them, because the boundaries are there, but where those connections can be. So I appreciate that. And Cheryl is bang on as to what I think a lot of people are saying tonight. And we may be out of order, but hey, it's our association. I love it.
No, out of order, I meant on us taking this out of the agenda of the, whatever it's called, the one member, one vote. We can't. That's what we meant. So let's not spin it to something else.
Well, just for the map maker to make sure that the map maker adjusts Caledon and moves Caledon back to Peel, because Caledon is not part of Dufferin.
I have no idea. I will need to, this was already moved there. It can move after the vote if that's what the board and in conversation with you guys will decide. To me, it's, but we will not change it now because it's posted. What I wanted to say in terms of meetings, let's be careful with that because there are chapters that are very small and their meetings are small. And trust me, the politicians are very impressed too because they're politicians from small communities. So that's number one, just so we give the same importance to smaller places. But in terms of meetings, you can also do joint meetings. That doesn't prevent us from doing joint meetings, right? And I think some are doing that as we speak. In fact, Region 6 and 7, I know I have attended some that they do together. So that will continue after also. So that's a possibility.
Maureen, you had your hand up, and I think that's the last question if no one else has anything, any follow-up. It's just at the bottom left of your screen if you want to unmute yourself, Maureen.
Oh, there, it's come now. I belong to the Peel chapter, but I work downtown and have for 20 years. And I've only just started participating in more of these webinars in the last year. And these are the types of webinars that normally I would not have agreed to participate in, but they're of interest to me more and more lately. And it's, I was just thinking as the call was happening, how I should get more involved in my area. It's extremely disheartening to hear that there would be no point because I work in the Toronto area. I mean, I don't know what's going on in the Peel region in the same way that I know Toronto, but I don't live in Toronto. That has nothing to do with today's bylaw voting, the issues surrounding the vote, but I agree with many of the people who have spoken today, especially in the chat, with regard to having the choice to participate in a chapter where they work as opposed to where they live. I think that's really important.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you.
Thanks for just hearing me out.
No, thank you. I don't think we have heard from everybody. Did we hear from Sandra? I see Sandra, I see Betty. Corsita, I don't know if we heard from Corsita. Maureen, I did, I think we did. Poonam, we did. Daniel, we did. Cheryl, we did. Angela, Erin, did we hear from Erin? Erin, did we hear from you? No, I can see. That's a nice painting you have there. I love it. So
I have a 4-year-old hollering in the background, so you can't hear from me. I'll take my questions if I have any.
Okay, okay. Anita, I see. Hi, Anita. I hadn't seen you. Piroshka with it and Paula with it. So Sandra, do you have any comments that you would like to make? I just want to make sure that people that didn't speak get a chance. If you can put in the chat, yes or no, Sandra, do you have any comment?
Oh.
I can't see the chat either.
And then, sorry, it's just a number, but 60271. If you want to go ahead and state any questions or comments.
Maybe you want to unmute the people that have not spoken, and then I want you to promote everybody to panel so we can do clap, clap, clap. Yes, because it will be 7:30.
Yeah, we have a couple of minutes left. I've unmuted everybody. I don't think anyone else has any further comments.
Okay. Betty, hi Betty. Betty, do you have comments? Lots of sun coming through your window, my gosh. Betty has a comment. Can you unmute her?
Yeah, Betty, you're unmuted. Just
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm from Region 1. I'm the board member from Region 1. And, you know, I just want to say that this was a really robust discussion and debate that we had about this change. And I'm kind of jealous that I'm not in Peel, because it sounds like a wonderful chapter. And I feel that I'm really missing out on something. But did have a robust conversation at the assembly, at the Queen's Park Assembly, about this. And there's lots of opportunity for members to get up and speak and share their feelings about it. The board, you know, unanimously decided that this was a good idea. And because we're doing a lot of political action, and if we even just look at COVID and the impact that RNAO has had on the PPE and all the things, the policy around COVID, and Doris's advocacy throughout, you can see that it's important that we are kind of connected to our MPP. So the one member, one vote, it's your opportunity to decide whether you want to go through with this or not. Like, that's the democracy of RNAO. And I think that there's another opportunity to have another chance to listen to this. I forget what night it is, but I know there's another night that we can talk to the group about this too. But I think you should maybe look at the RNAO site. There's some more information in there and some reasoning behind it. And I think it would be good to kind of get a really good picture. It was hard as a board member to kind of say that, yeah, this is a great idea. Like we really did a lot of talking about it. We spent a lot of time. It wasn't something that we just said, yeah, this is great, let's go with it. And we didn't look at it like that. We really wanted to make sure that it was good for our members, and we really felt that it was. That's just from me.
Well said, Betty. I want to build on that for the question that Danielle just posed. You posed the issue if Peel could be dealt separate. Actually, that was dealt at the board too. I don't remember the complete, but it was a very robust discussion and the decision was not. But in lieu of that is that the board actually extended the period for 2 years rather than 1, if I remember correctly, Anita. That the board moved from 1 year, meaning effective next year, to effective in 2 years to allow for that adjustment. So I just noticed Danielle's comment or question, so I wanted to build because it's really.
So when we go into vote, I'm just wondering, so it's just going to be we're voting on the overall change. There wouldn't be to say we agree with because when Peroska mentioned the change for Toronto, it makes sense, but the one for Peel, if you're voting based on that rationale, it's going against the rationale for Peel. So I'm just thinking, is there not a way to set it up that there's 2 questions? Like I've done one member, one vote before, and you go in and there could be multiple questions.
Yeah, we can't change it now, Danielle, because it's posted. But what it can happen is that after the vote, assuming it passes, that the board can discuss with Peel the issue of those 2 areas that you guys want back into the chapter. That can happen after, because the board has that authority, legal authority.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So with I see, hey Udo, how are you? So thank you, Betty. I don't know if Sandra wants to speak.
Sandra left a comment. She just said she's just listening in.
Okay, that's good. Anita, you want to say anything? Unmute Anita, please. No, yes.
There we go. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I echo the other board members. I think that this was a great opportunity tonight for everyone to come out and express their thoughts about this changes. I agree that if it does move forward, then we will be doing a lot of work with the chapters to sort of flesh out what that's going to look like. There's going to be a lot more conversations, a lot more support. If it doesn't pass, then it doesn't pass. I think this is us having this conversation and people being able to speak about their concerns is very democratic, and I think that I applaud RNAO for doing that. And it, like my other board members mentioned, like Betty mentioned, it wasn't an easy decision. It was something that we did speak about extensively. And so it was something that we thought was best for the organization. And so that's just our perspective. Thanks.
Thank you, Anita. And Cheryl spoke, Angela spoke, Poonan spoke, Sandra is listening, Betty spoke. Maureen? I don't think we heard from Maureen.
Maureen just spoke.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Udo?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Thank you, Udo. How is your leg?
It's getting good. Okay. I would need
So
a
that means you can co-chair with me the NP forum. I'm joking. That's gone. Okay.
Well, when it happens, hopefully I'll be good.
For the next one, Corsita.
No more to add at this time.
Thank you. And Ifra, is anything you want to add?
No, I just wanted to say if anyone has any further questions or concerns after this webinar, feel free to email me directly, and then I can share that with Doris and Angela. And if I will send out the links to the backgrounder and all of the supporting documents to everyone registered to this webinar after.
Yeah.
1 minute to go.
I do want to comment as a CEO that is trying to have more people run for elections. I need to tell you that if this doesn't pass, the board will not be outbroken or devastated or anything like that, nor will I as a member of the board or as the CEO. This is democracy, and will happen what will happen. And I do want to tell you that if it passes, we will work very hard with Bill and with any other chapter, including Region 6 and 7, because they will have changes too, to make it absolutely fantastic. So you have the commitment on that. I wanted you to know.
7:30.
Now, can you upgrade us all to have faces there? And
Everyone's unmuted.
And can you take a picture, or how do we do this?
Yeah.
Actually, a video. Ifra, are you able to do a GIF? You know how to do GIFs?
Hi, guys.
Hi. Can you do a GIF?
Okay, I'll try my best. I can do
Daniel, do you have an element?
Yeah.
Okay, to make noise. Okay, can you do a GIF?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Do a GIF. Like we should do like this.
I guess.
Okay, I'll count you down. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you to every health professional.
Wonderful.
Together. Friends, NPs, nursing students, from everybody from RNAO. Thank you, Ifra.
Got it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, guys, for all the thoughts, all the
So nice
discussions.
spending time with you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Found my bell.
So, oh, don't forget, we are doing nurse practitioner long-term care that only the NPs in long-term care can do. We are doing next Wednesday 2 webinars, one for Nursing Now, which is at 11 a.m. So already 300 people or 400 people registered, so that should be fantastic. And then 2 weeks after, we are doing one in Spanish with 4 countries that we are organizing that they ask us to organize. That is apropos those of you that spoke about the role of RNAO in COVID. They came after us to do a webinar, so it's beautiful. So thank you.
Yay.
Thank you to everybody, and keep doing good work, guys, especially those of you in the front lines. Yes, thank you.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Thanks, everyone.